Hi, E.W. Norman families. Today I'm going to read a storybook that is, I would consider maybe a late primary or an early junior level, and the title of the book is called The Wretched Stone. It's a book that I used to love to read when I was a classroom teacher. The Wretched Stone is written by an American author named Chris Van Allsburg. Allsburg has written 19 books and illustrated them all himself. He has been the recipient of the Caldecott Medal for the books Jumanji, as well as the Polar Express, which have both been made into major motion pictures. The Wretched Stone is a story that's told in a series of journal entries written by a captain of a ship. And the ship's name is the Rita Ann, and the captain's name is Randall Ethan Hope, which is an interesting last name. The story takes place over a series of 2 months, and since every story has a problem, you're going to read or hear that something strange is found by the crew, brought on board the Rita Ann, and then something starts to happen. There are some issues. So we're going to read to find out what happens in this storybook, and you're going to notice that I'm going to stop and pause as I'm reading to show you what my thinking is as I go through. So, The Wretched Stone, written and illustrated by Chris Van Allsburg. Excerpts from the log of the Rita Ann, Randall Ethan Hope, Captain. May 8th. We finished bringing supplies aboard early this morning. At midday, we left on the tide and found a fresh breeze just outside the harbor. It is a good omen that our voyage has begun with fair winds and a clear sky. May 9th. The first mate, Mr. Howard, has brought together a fine crew. These men are not only good sailors, they are accomplished in other ways. And just so you can note, a first mate is like the second in command to the captain. Many read and have borrowed books from my small library. Some play musical instruments, and there are a few good storytellers among them. May 17th. Our passage is going well. The usual boredom that comes with many days at sea is not present on this ship. When the members of this clever crew are not on duty, I find them singing and dancing or amusing each other with tales of past adventure. June 5th. Land ho! Slightly before sunset, we spotted an island. I have consulted my charts, but do not see it recorded. This is odd, since ships have sailed through these waters for years. Apparently, they have all missed this small place. And I'm wondering right now, as the reader, I wonder why this island has never been spotted before if people have charted these waters so many times. We are low on water and would be happy to find fresh fruit growing here. Tomorrow I will take some men ashore and look about. June 6th. I have just returned from the island. It is strange indeed. The vegetation is lush, but not a single plant bears fruit. The air has an odor that at first seems sweet and pleasant, then becomes an overpowering stink. I saw no sign of animal life, not even an insect. We found a spring that had water too bitter to drink. We also discovered something quite extraordinary, which I've brought aboard. Prediction. What do you predict the captain has brought aboard the ship? I want you to use the skill of visualization right now as I read this next page. So visualizing is putting a picture in your memory or into your mind. It is a rock, approximately 2 feet across. It is roughly textured, gray in color, but a portion of it is as flat and smooth as glass. From the surface comes a glowing light that is quite beautiful and pleasing to look at. The thing is unbelievably heavy, requiring 6 strong men to lift it. With great effort, we were able to get it aboard and into the forward hold. We have set sail and are underway again. Think for a moment about your prediction. Has your prediction changed? What do you think the rock could be? June 10th. The crew is fascinated by the rock. When not needed on deck, they are down below, gazing in silence at the peculiar light it gives off. I miss the music and storytelling that had become part of our ship's life. The last few days have passed quite slowly. The men, however, seem perfectly content. I am sure their interest in the stone will fade away soon. June 13th. Something is wrong with the crew. They rarely speak, and though they swing through the rigging more quickly than ever, they walk the decks in a clumsy, stooped-over fashion. Last night I heard shrieks coming from the forward hold. I believe they have contracted some kind of fever that came on board with the stone. I told Mr. Howard that tomorrow I will have the thing thrown overboard. June 14th. This morning I awoke to find the deck deserted. The wheel was tied steady with a rope. I believe Mr. Howard, who spent some time around the rock, told the men about my plan to get rid of it. They have now locked themselves in the forward hold. They apparently believe, in their feverish state, that I can sail this boat alone while they sit around the wretched stone. And that brings us back to the title. Think about the word wretched, wretched stone. What other word could be used in its place? Wretched stone. June 15th. We are in grave danger. A powerful storm is headed this way. All morning long, the wind has grown steadily stronger. The sky is filled with dark clouds. I am unable to shorten the sails by myself. With this much canvas up, we will surely be blown over and sink when the full force of the storm arrives. I am going forward again to try to get the crew to work. All our lives depend on it. This is, I'm sure, my last entry. What I have just seen is so horrifying I barely have the strength to write it down. After I pounded at the door to the forward hold, it finally swung open. But it was not a man who opened the door, it was an ape. The whole crew has turned into hairy beasts. They just sat there grinning at that terrible rock. They don't understand a word I say. We are doomed. June 16th. The storm has passed. The Rita Ann is still afloat, but both masts and rudder are lost. The stone has gone dark. We were struck by lightning twice during the storm. I believe that was the cause. Unfortunately, the crew is unchanged. They are still beasts, but seem sad and lost without the glowing rock. I have moved them back to their quarters. We have food for 2 weeks. I am hopeful of a rescue. June 19th. I've made an encouraging discovery. I am playing the violin and reading to the crew, and it seems to be having a positive effect. They are walking upright and have an alert look in their eyes. June 24th. I was in the forward hold today. A dull glow was coming from the stone. I have covered it and will keep the compartment locked. When I look at this illustration, I have a text-to-self connection. This reminds me of myself reading in the classroom and having students sitting, standing, and sometimes even laying down, getting comfortable as I read. June 28th. I am happy to report that the men have returned to normal. It seems that those who knew how to read recovered most quickly. June 30th. We are saved. A ship has been spotted off our starboard side. I've decided to scuttle the Rita Ann. There is only one place for the wretched stone. Before we abandon ship, I will set a fire that will send this vessel and her cargo to the bottom of the sea. July 12th. Our rescuers have left us in the harbor town of Santa Pango. One by one, the crew should be able to sign on to ships passing through and work their way home. We've made an agreement not to talk about the strange events that took place aboard the Rita Ann. The men appear to have recovered completely, though some show an unnatural appetite for the fruit that is available here. And that is the end of the Wretched Stone, but I'm just thinking here. Mrs. Spence has been uploading these read-alouds to Facebook, and I asked you a couple of questions throughout this reading. Feel free to post any of your questions, your wonderings, or your predictions on Mrs. Spence's Facebook page. And if you're looking for a writing connection, it might be interesting to think about what next adventure there might be involving that wretched stone. Thanks for listening in. See you again.